What is good? We're back, and today we are going to be talking about Dynasty must-stashes, but we're going to do it a little differently today. Normally, we just kind of throw out the list of some deep stashes, but we're going to kind of tier them up to give people with different size rosters and different thresholds of people. And so tier one, kind of going to be those late-round must-draft players. So kind of a twofer here, right? You're kind of getting mustaches and the start of some late round must drafts. So tier one will kind of be like immediate value prospects. They're going to be late round players. These players are generally going to hold like an ADP of 150 to 200 or higher. They've established enough to provide some utility to see a value spike with minimal change to their current depth chart situation. Tier two, we got high upside handcuffs. These guys are going to be your handcuff type of players. They could have an impact given an opportunity through injury, trade, or, unruly fans. And then in tier three, these are going to kind of be your long-term developmental stashes for the most part. Just kind of unsexy names that we're going to stash away. This is sort of the plum tier, right? You're going to feel these in your plums, right? And obviously, it works for the running backs and the wide receivers for the most part. And then when you get into tight ends and quarterbacks, we're just going to kind of go through and we'll still tier them up, but mostly for the running backs and the wide receivers here. Jeremiah, how you doing?
Hey, you're asking me?
Oh, you.
Hey, absolutely. Hey, man, so much fun. We missed Chev. We'll see you on the next show, bud. But really excited about this. And what's really cool is even down to that tier three, you feel it in your plums. Be ready and be right so you don't have to get right. And in the event, you probably are never going to turn these cards over, but you want to be active and ready because you can take huge advantage of your league mates, especially in the dynasty streets. These little players that you can have fill in just randomly. It might be 1 week, 2 week. When we look at the back of the statistic card, as I was going through this show sheet, these players, a lot of viability is they had a week this season where they were wide receiver 5.
Right.
2 years in a row, they've had a top finishing fantasy performance just on a single week. They got called. It wasn't a week over week thing, but that potential is there. So because we've seen it, it's an opportunity for us to stash and have just in case.
Absolutely, man. So, stashes are a big part of kind of any dynasty roster. And again, so we've kind of tiered these up, give you different levels to go through it. We're going to start off with the running backs. Tier one, again, these are like 150 to 200 or higher players. So some of these guys might be like, I don't know if they're stashes, but for some like FFPC rosters, where it's a shorter bench, these guys are kind of stashes. But again, this is going to kind of be your late round target kind of guys. Jeremiah, lead us off with your first tier one running back stash here.
Hey, let's go with Rachaad White. Running back ambiguity. It gives us opportunities to win leagues. RB44 right now is Rachaad White in a lot of consensus ranks. Ja'Cory Crosskey Merritt goes in the late 30s. Katron Allen in the 50s. So there's that ambiguity. Draft capital. Merritt round 7. Allen round 6. Okay, you can land White in round 12 to 14 of your startup in 4 seasons, anywhere from 40 receptions to 64 receptions for Rachaad White. His low was actually last year with 40 receptions. Bullish things, 2025. Rachaad White, 4th in run block rating, 9th in EPA at plus 12.2. For this type of a price, those types of numbers are very good. So the question is, can Rachaad White get on the field? He is the definition of a compiler, but we don't care. Yards per carry for career, 3.9. He's tied to Jaden Daniels, so 27 years old. The Commanders, Casey, have no incentive to keep him fresh. 1 year, $2 million. For us, that's something we can salivate over, and he's absolutely a player that we want on our teams. Cheap, easy to have, and easy numbers that can be accessed through some ambiguity.
Yeah, I think you kind of were borrowing a phrase from other people, but like flex cuffy kind of players here, right? And what you want in those are going to be either touchdowns, catches, or somebody who just automatically has a role that splits a little heavier with somebody else that could maybe even take it over. Rachaad White, can hit all those things. So I really like that Rachaad White. He's somebody who I'm pretty much always drafting. One of my first ones in tier 1, I'm going to go Woody Marks. I don't think he's dissimilar to kind of a Rachaad White and kind of how he could be used. We know coming out, Woody Marks was one of the highest in college receptions for the running back position, like 200 plus receptions throughout his college career. He came out, he had an okay run with Houston through that first rookie season. Again, a rookie running back, had some ups and downs. But we know that line was shaky at best. CJ Stroud wasn't at his best. He had a rookie play caller. I think David Montgomery comes in here and can relieve some stress off of Woody Marks' plate. We've seen the line get upgraded all across the board for the Houston Texans. But as I mentioned, with what you want in these kind of later round guys stash in these tier 1s are pass catching and touchdown upside. And Woody Marks has a ton of pass catching. And if anything should happen to Montgomery, I think he can hop in and be the guy. They leaned on him at times and gave him multiple attempts. Was his yards per carry always the best that you wanted to see? No, not really. But I thought he always looked better than what the result on the field was. People were saying how inefficient he was. I think that was just kind of the product of the environment. But again, pass catching here is what, is or touchdown upside. I think he's got the pass catching, and I think he's got a nice carved out niche role where he can, he's not only going to catch passes, he's going to get opportunities with it in his gut. This is not going to be David Montgomery every week just being the bell cow of all bell cows. I think he's going to be a bell cow, but Woody Marks is going to carve out a role in there. They should have used him more in the passing game last year. He's coming in at ADP 220, RB 54, really, really cheap right now. Now came in as a little bit older player, so it's a second year in the league. He's already 25 and a half years old, but that's okay. Like, we're not drafting these players to be like long-term guys that I'm leaning on. I'm drafting them because of the certain marks that they have in upside that I could see a big role in, right? And I think Woody Marks checks that box.
Hey, elite phrasing right there with Woody Marks. And beggars can't be choosers here in these stashes. We're not trying to be picky. We're just trying to get some kind of viability. So as you had mentioned, Casey, Woody Marks being a year 2, a little bit older of a player, who cares?
Right.
Just a flex play right now, but built in immediately. And then there's room for more ceiling. Only 2 games. You mentioned about the receiving. Only 2 games with 5 targets last year. Would like to see that a little bit more. So it's a guy, Mississippi State, reception total 60, 83, 48. Then the senior year at USC, 47. So we think there's a lot more there. Only 24 receptions last year. So great point on that one. I love that.
Absolutely. All right. Give me number 2 in tier 1 here.
Hey, let's talk about Kenneth Gainwell. Okay. Instant playing time. You don't have to worry about that. Viability immediately. 73 receptions in 2025. Can that come down some? Absolutely. Aaron Rodgers dumping off the ball to you. Can Baker Mayfield do the same? I don't think so. But at the same time, it's a skill set that Baker Mayfield does have. Zach Robinson, the offensive coordinator, on Kenneth Gainwell. There's never been a more important player in the history of this franchise or in the locker room than Kenneth Gainwell. He's teaching us how to play. He's teaching the young kids how to play. He's embracing the community. Coaches love this guy, talking about Kenneth Gainwell. There's nothing we can do about it, and you can't work that into a spreadsheet. So high praise from Zach Robinson. They went and sought him out. Kenneth Gainwell, too, 4th in yards created per touch last year and 4th in production premium. So there's viability there. We love Bucky Irving. We like the dent in the can pricing that is there. But by all means, Kenneth Gainwell, absolutely somebody that you want.
Yeah, we saw a nice little breakout with him last year, so he can come in and replace that Rachaad White, kind of give you Spider-Man Mimi stuff there. So I like that. We interrupt this show to bring you Prize Picks. The FF Dynasty has teamed up with Prize Picks. If you don't know what Prize Picks is by now, you're probably living under a rock, but we're going to tell you anyway. Prize Picks is America's #1 sports pick app. The app is really easy to use. You simply just pick more or less on a few player stats and lock in your lineup. Prize Picks is available in most states, including, but not limited to, California, Texas, and Florida. In beautiful, sunny South Carolina, I get to make these picks right on the beach or downtown or at a nice restaurant. So check your local listing, see if you can use Prize Picks. If you don't, contact your local government because you should be. Download the app, enter promo code HMA. New users get $50 in lineups instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Now, PrizePicks has got all sorts of things. The NBA Finals just wrapped up, so one less. But of course, we have baseball going on, and who's not consumed by the World Cup right now? You don't even have to really know anything about it to get really excited about it. And that's the best part about PrizePicks. You can go on there, you can figure out what games you're going to be watching, and you can go in there and pick, more or less on shots on goal, or crosses, or passes, or how many stops the goalkeeper had. So in this particular matchup, we're going England versus Croatia. We get Harry Kane, more than 3 shots. And then we're going to go down to Colombia versus Uzbekistan. We're going to take Luis Suarez, more than 0.5 shots on target. And guys, it's that simple. You just go in there. And like I said, there's a whole bunch of different things you can bet on: assists, shots, crosses, goals saved. Super simple, a lot of fun. Just add an extra little layer to kind of what you're watching or gonna watch. So download the app, enter promo code HMA. New users get $50 in lineups instantly when you play your first $5 lineup. Do it. Peace. My second guy in this tier is going to be Chris Rodriguez. I think I'm in the camp right now of the believer that this is going to be a bit more of a timeshare until maybe Tootin just runs away with it, but literally and figuratively. But until that happens, I think Rodriguez and him are going to have, a weird back and forth of, kind of on game script and how the game is going, which one. But there's TD upside here, right? With somebody like Chris Rodriguez, this is an offense that was ascended last year. They're going to sustain drives. They're going to score points. That's kind of what we saw with Liam Cohen kind of the first year at the helm. Now, maybe they do take a little bit of a step back, but Chris Rodriguez right now, again, 26.7 years old. So we're not going for the age here. We're not like, oh, we need the youngest guys ever. We're trying to find people who can help you out. And C-Rod right now is RB 50, 198 overall, like super cheap. And I think he really could come in, and maybe by halfway through the season, he's dust and he's out of there, and he's just getting kind of vultured touchdowns. Or by midway through the season, he just stays the thorn in the side and is somebody who can give you reps. That's kind of how you led this off. Like somebody who can just help you out through some spots, through injuries. Dynasty's a war of attrition. You need these kind of players. Everybody wants to talk about all the best players. Like if you're in a good league with good players, that's where everything's spread out. These are going to be the warriors, the unsung heroes who get it done for you. And somebody like Chris Rodriguez can be a big part of that throughout the season. So I'm going Chris Rodriguez as my second guy in tier 2.
Hey man, in a pinch, can you get on a given week? You know how desperate it gets with injuries. Maybe it's week 7. Can you get 8 to 11 points from Chris Rodriguez and you're happy and set? Right. Imagine a flippening though of this spot where Rodriguez gets drafted in, say, round 15. You mentioned RB 50. Tootin goes around the 25. So it's almost like a double gap,
right?
Big time. If you had a flippening, the leverage that you would have on your league mate who has Bajal Tootin, and then, of course, not to mention the rest of your league mates, I'm going crazy with my hands now, who have all these other running backs that they've paid up highly for. So, yeah, I like your spot of Chris Rodriguez, and it's easy, simple, nice because it's cheap.
Right. Absolutely. All right, give me your last guy in this tier.
Man, I'm so excited about Damon Claiborne. Round 6 draft capital. We called out Claiborne early in the rookie process, 4.37 speed, just a half second slower time. That sticks in my brain from Devon Achane. We're getting the Jahmyr Gibbs hype comps. And there's the, of course, Wake Forest connection during spring minicamp. Claiborne's teammate, Aaron Jones, talked about he looks a little bit like Jahmyr Gibbs. Last year, Jordan Mason, other teammate who Claiborne will have to compete with, who I'm not so excited about. 37th in yards created in 2025, 38th in yards created per touch at 3.03. So just a pedestrian ceiling as an RB3. Touchdown equity upside up there, maybe something unfurled with Kyler Murray opening up lanes versus JJ McCarthy. That's a one leave the light on thing I have for Jordan Mason. But I'd rather have Damon Claiborne than Kaleb Johnson, Braylon Allen, and his teammate Aaron Jones, who all go ahead in startups. And another factor in this is Aaron Jones, another year older. So I see Claiborne just being so viable throughout the season. And he seems to be picking up things very quickly. Claiborne actually talked about early on in the process how the team is taking him in, how he feels like he belongs. So this doesn't sound like somebody who's a rookie. And if the physical traits are there and the opportunity is there, we could very well be stealing.
We could. All right. My last one in this tier, I'm going Tyjae Spears. Contract year for him. He's going to be elsewhere after this year, it would seem. Look, there's a lot of pass catching upside in Tyjae Spears. There's also just general, I think, a good running back. Injuries have kept this guy's stock down, and it feels like it's the most down it's ever been, which is when I like to swoop in and grab myself some Tyjae Spears. We haven't seen a whole lot of them throughout his career, like I said, because of injuries. But when this guy has gotten chances to kind of get rolling and be the guy and have long sustained periods where he is on the field, he's been a very viable option in fantasy. And I think receiving upside once again is kind of where I'm striking here. And if anything should happen to Tony Pollard in this season, I know Nicholas Singleton is all the rage right now, but like, I think these two guys are going to hold him off the field, right? I think that both of them are good enough. They're veterans. They've been around a while. Both of them are good at I think Pollard and Spears are kind of similar-esque players, at least when, Pollard first entered the league, and now he's kind of became a much more well-rounded back. And I think Spears is hopefully kind of on that same trajectory. So Tyjae Spears is my last one in tier 1.
Hey, I love that pick because knee-jerk reaction when Nicholas Singleton gets selected, you're thinking it's just a stuff your committee, and you're like, okay, when is Tyjae Spears ever going to get it? If he's not going to get it now, when will he get it? I would just open and hold the door open for the fact that Pollard and or Spears, we talked about this earlier today, Casey, could be trade candidates, maybe mid-season on this path where we see Cam Ward and the Titans getting better. Well, maybe the future doesn't include Tyjae Spears. Maybe it doesn't include Tony Pollard. But where would they get traded to? This is a fun Socratic method. They get traded to a contending team, a good, viable spot. So there are some outs there. And who can forget Spears? RB3, 10, and 12, weeks 15 through 17 in 2024. Absolutely. So I love that call. Great call. Great list.
Absolutely. All right. Tier 2, we're going to try to run through these a little quicker here in the back halves. Tier 2, who you got to kick it off with here, Jeremiah?
It's Dylan Sampson, Cleveland Browns. He broke Tennessee's rushing record, 1,485 rushing yards, 22 touchdowns. And he's first in yards per route run at 2.02 last year. First in yards created per touch at 4.87. Dylan Sampson has some juice. Alongside Quinshon Judkins, we're bullish on him. But again, this is more rounds arbitrage. So Dylan Sampson for me.
I love it. I love Dylan Sampson. We've seen Quinshon go down. We saw Dylan Sampson, getting a ton of run, catching some footballs last year. So I like that one a lot. It got to be at the top of the cuff list for sure. I'm going Demercado here. I'm going off the beaten path. I know Emmett Johnson is the new rookie. I know everybody loves him. I do too. I'm not hating on him by any means, but this seems like more of the 1-for-1. This is a professional that's been around a while. Again, an older player, but he's coming in on our crowdsource rankings at RB 98, like just way down there. Nobody cares at all about him, and that's what this is all about. Look, Demercado, if you filter of attempts 40 or more, right, as the threshold, you got to have at least 40 or more. Demercado was number 1 in the entire NFL in explosive run rate percentage at 11.4. Number 1 in yards per carry at 7.09. Fifth in yards per contact per attempt, 3.09, and 16th in missed tackles forced per attempt. So, obviously not a million attempts for Demercado, and we saw some injuries, but the Cardinals were bad through that stretch there. And Demercado just looked explosive through there. So that's what I want here. And Kenny Walker, we love him. He's our guy. But it seems like the Chiefs want to recommit to the run. And if Kenny should go down, which we've seen Kenny be nicked and bumped and bruised before, I think Demercado can come in here and give you some juice. So Demercado is my number 1 in tier 2 handcuffs.
A good pick when it's Tuesday or Wednesday and you get an injury report and it's an ankle for Kenneth Walker and it's a rib. You are going to want to make sure that you pay attention to, you had mentioned, Casey, Emmett Johnson and Emari Demercado. If it's Demercado, we have to watch this battle. This is a lot like the 49ers backup battle with James and Black. You want to watch Demercado and Emmett Johnson for this very reason as to what you said.
Absolutely. All right, give me your number 2 in tier 2.
Ray Davis. He is the Boston Scott versus the Giants, but for the Bills version versus the Jets. He's getting drafted near Jalen Wright, DJ Giddens, just being forgotten about. Ray Davis. Okay. It's either nothing or something. He's not getting viable usage. There's weeks where Davis has to compete with Ty Johnson. What is this, right? You're frustrated. So we can never quit the Ray Davis performance. Week 6 versus the Jets, his rookie season, 18.2 points, 152 total yards. Then last year, week 18, versus the Jets, 174 total yards, 25.4 fantasy points. So for some reason, we know he's good. But the only glitch, this is like that Moneyball meme where Jonah Hill's like, the only glitch is he can only play good games against the Jets, only get opportunity against the Jets in Ray Davis. But again, we talked about earlier in the show, if you printed anything and shown us anything, that's where we're at.
I love it. I love it. All right, my number 2, I'm going to go Emanuel Wilson here. This is just about opportunity. Sharps is down. That running back, they drafted a rookie. Maybe Price is up to snuff, but maybe Price just is having some rookie troubles to kind of start the season or whatever. Either way, we have a new offensive coordinator. Obviously, we're not going to see the same kind of splits we saw last year, most likely. But I'm not going to be surprised if we start the season out with Wilson getting part of that backfield, and maybe he can even take a little bit of control. We've seen him in runs with the Packers here and there where he's been fine, right? And that's what I'm looking for right now. I'm looking for somebody who has a really short leash opportunity. And when I've seen it, it's been fine enough. And Wilson, we know the Hawks are going to want to run it, regardless if it's a new coordinator or not. He's somebody from the Shanahan tree. So they're going to put an emphasis on running the ball. They brought Wilson in on a 1-year deal. I think he kind of fits into what they want to do. Wilson was third in success rate last year with running backs of 40 attempts or more. So there's something to like about Wilson, and the opportunity seems like a razor thin margin for Wilson to get on the field early and often for Seattle. So I'm going Emanuel Wilson.
Well, don't fall for the banana in the tailpipe with George Halani. Sounds like you're sharp on that. Don't forget and don't sleep on Emanuel Wilson, to your point.
All right, give me your number 3.
Love Trey Benson. Okay, you can go back. Woo-hoo. Let's talk about Chev. All the hype last year. Shout out to Chev. For Benson, it all still applies. Just that you have Jeremiah Love in front of him. He got hurt at the most inopportune time. Still a highly viable handcuff with a explosive ability. Sorry. He's a great example of a key card player, somebody who's always clocking in, showing up daily. People are forgetting about him. In the event that Jeremiah Love gets hurt, Trey Benson just picks up. He just had such bad luck when it was all there in front of him. It just sucks sometimes because that might have been the window, but at the same time, we can take advantage of that because this is a stash. You only have to pay a stash price.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm going to go with the 49ers backfield here. I'm going with, Jordan James or Black. Obviously, Black was drafted in the 3rd round. Jordan James, they brought him in last year. He had some injuries at the end of camp that kind of derailed what was going on with him. And Black's getting a lot of love right now in the circles of saying, ooh, maybe at first it was what idiots. And now there's a lot of people going, this guy's got something here. Now, who's it going to be? I don't really know. They're both still relatively cheap. The correct answer is probably if San Fran's in some tight games and closer games, it's probably going to be a lot of CMC again if he can withstand it. We have seen some injuries. He took a lot of attempts last year through the air and on the ground. Both what we want here is I just want somebody the next up for the Niners. Both of these guys seem really fun. We know there's an emphasis and they're really good at the run game and scheming the run game. They like both of those guys. We've seen pretty much almost any backup Niner that they have trust in come in and win you fantasy weeks. Have we not? Like over and over. And then they're just back into obscurity. We've chased the Mitchells and the Garendos and, whomever for whatever, but they have a special place in your heart when they come in and they give you those reps that you need. They're saying they're going to give these guys, McCaffrey a little bit more reps. I'll believe it when I see it, but those, I want handcuffs in situations where I know the run game is a big part of what they do and it's well designed. And that's what San Fran does. So either one of those two guys you can get your hands on, if not both.
Yeah, pay attention to that battle. It's one of the most intriguing fantasy matchups and outcomes that may not amount to anything. It's kind of like having car insurance. You're not going to need it, but damn it, when you need that payment, you're going to be happy that you had one of whoever the correct one is.
That's right. All right, you got a couple more here in this tier. What is good, guys? If you are a nicotine pouch guy or gal, who is your go-to? Is it Zyn? Is it Rogue? I don't think so, pal. When I need a little giddy up, I pop in a Lucy. What's a Lucy? Glad you asked. It's a premium 100% tobacco-free nicotine pouch made for true pouch connoisseurs. Lucy pouches and Lucy breakers, right here, deliver a long-lasting flavor for a seriously satisfying pouch experience. Now, I'm pretty much a mint guy across the board, as you can see from the examples that I held up there. And my day-to-day is the traditional Lucy pouch, this fella right here. But the breakers, they come out when I want to feel, kind of sexy, if you will, right? These bad boys right here. The breakers, they make it feel like you're about to have a fancy night out where I'm going to throw inhibition to the wind and let the night just have its way with me. For me, they're not the standard, but it's the enhancement. Now, I like to break it with my back teeth. What's your preferred method? Let me know. Lucy pouches have many different strengths, from 4 milligram all the way up to 12 milligram, and have a unique shape that feels great. Lucy is the only pouch that delivers a long-last, on-demand flavor. You can get 20% off with your first order when you buy online at lucy.co with promo code HMA. And if you don't want to wait, check out their store locator and find a Lucy near you and grab it today. Now, here comes the fine print. Lucy products are for adults of legal age, and every customer is age verified. Warning, this product contains nicotine, and nicotine is an addictive chemical.
Yeah, let me just list off. It's going to be Sean Tucker and Taj Brooks. With Taj Brooks, look, he wasn't anything special to me pre-NFL draft. Like slow, patient runner, does what Le'Veon Bell does, except the skill part. He doesn't have all that speed, but things have gone well for him. Zach Taylor has talked about Brooks. He's pro ready, saying he's tough. He's got great lateral quickness, good ball skills. He can protect us. So I think they have that trust, and that's going to keep you getting opportunities on the field. No competition brought in. So that's easy, simple, nice, high octane offense. And then Sean Tucker, week 11 versus Bills, RB2 overall, 140 yards and 3 touchdowns. And then 2024 against the Saints, 192 total yards, 34.1 fantasy football points. So it's just crazy how he can just come off the bench, rip things up. What happened with his heart when he was drafted,
right?
Press the price. And it's like that Moneyball thing where it's like, well, there's this glitch where he can come off the bench and give you a top 3 running back week, and then he just goes back, if that's right. Okay with you. And that's what it's been so far.
Yeah. And he signed a 1-year deal with Tampa, so he could be kind of free to roam and into a bigger role next year, or into a similar thing where he's a good cuff. So I like that. My last 2 of tier 2, I'm going to close out. I can't forget my guy Kaleb Johnson here. Got to give him love. Never wrong, just early or just late or whatever it was. But no, I was wrong. But I like Kaleb Johnson. I'm going to grab him. I'm going to scoop him up here. And Devin Neal, I'd put him kind of as a tweener here. We don't exactly know what's going to happen with the Saints backfield, but when Devin Neal got some opportunity last year, he was solid with it. Alvin Kamara is not going to be around forever. Whether he gets traded even before the season or he comes in and is just a thorn in the side for a lot of the season for ETN and all that. I can't tell you which way that's going to go, but I know Devin Neal was my professional running back of choice. And I think they hit a home run with that pick. I think he's just going to kind of get if Kamara sits there for another year, he's going to get a year to kind of hang out and figure some more things out. But I thought Devin Neal was starting to look good with his opportunities in the limited role we saw with him last year. So I'd put him and Kaleb Johnson here in tier 2. So let's jump to tier 3, and these are our stashes. We're just stashing these guys away for they got to figure a couple things out or get into a different position or stay healthy. So hit me with your tier 3 guys here.
Hey, it's Tank Bigsby, 1-for-1 auto replacement for Saquon Barkley. There's nothing going on until Barkley would be out of the picture for any reason, tied to Jalen Hurts. Easy, simple, nice. And then LaQuint Allen, he'd be on the field last year in third down, pass leverage situations where you're like, hey, hold on. Can we get some Basil Tootin in here because you, of course, had Travis Etienne. You're like, hey, this guy's kind of ruining the party. That's because LaQuint Allen is too good to keep off of the field. So another viable player in that third running back in that Jaguars offense.
Absolutely. I'm going to go with Isaiah Davis here. Now, he's got 2 more years stuck in the Jets offense, but everyone loves Braylon Allen. And Braylon Allen's really young. Maybe he continues to develop and gets even better. But Isaiah Davis was somebody who was 5th in yards per contact per attempt last year. 3rd in yards per contact per yards after contact per attempt. He was 3rd. Holy moly. His explosive run rate was 9.3%. That was 3rd. And his yards per carry were 5.9 or 5.49. That was 5th, right? And those are with 40 or more attempts. That's the filter I had on these lower level guys, because we're not going to see him a lot. But anytime Isaiah Davis has been giving a decent amount of opportunity with the Jets, like he has taken it and ran with it, I'm going to stash him away for a rainy day and just see what comes back there. I think there's a good back right there. If he could just get an opportunity to at least be the second guy in instead of the second, third guy in, could provide some value later in his fantasy life.
Love it. And then I think we have an honorable mention for Isaiah Pacheco, just for the fact that he can just be David Montgomery light and run pure on touchdown equity.
Yeah, I mean, you look at that backfield, man. There's nobody there. Like the guy that they drafted who was a safety and a running back is from Utah. Is the other guy on that depth chart, and I don't know anybody else. Pacheco was 13th in success rate last year. Like, I know it was terrible, but like Pacheco, another year removed from maybe just being healthier and gonna get some opportunity there. Yeah, I want it on the Lions. Honorable mention to Kendre Miller, who's just been injured throughout his career. But I did have an interesting little stat for Kendre Miller somewhere, but I can't seem to put missed tackles per attempt, number 1. Again, 40 attempts. It was the threshold for a lot of these lower level guys. But had a good little bit of juke and jive to him. And then did you mention Tank Bigsby?
Yes. Yep. We got him.
All right. Tank Bigsby. I'm just going to give you a couple of stats for him as well. Tank Bigsby, explosive run rate, 7.9%. That was 6th overall. Missed tackles per attempt, 0.27. That was 3rd overall. Yards after contact per attempt, 3.16, 4th overall, and yards per carry, 5.65, 4th overall. So a lot of these guys right down here that we're throwing out at you led in some categories. Obviously not a lot of attempts, but the per attempt, they were very, very good, very, very strong. Near the top when you throw some filters on there. Obviously, you can make some things happen, but those aren't like crazy filters. Those are just attempts because those guys don't get a lot of attempts, but you get rid of the guys who had like 6, 8, 10 attempts. And, you got to have some guys who had some actual attempts there. So that's going to do it for the running backs. You want to jump into the wide receivers?
Yeah, can we start off? Let's go Tory Horton, round 5 draft capital, week 3 last year, wide receiver 14, 18.2 points, week 9, 20.8, wide receiver 8, quad and shin injury in week 9. So shy of Emmanuel Henderson Jr. being drafted in round 6. Seahawks did nothing at receiver. Cooper Kupp, free agent next off season. I'm kind of excited because this is an opportunity, because when he was really soaring up last year, the price was just kind of getting out of control. And now just an afterthought, which is crazy because look at what these Seahawks didn't do.
Right.
I'm a fan.
Now, Tory Horton's was our guy all last draft cycle. You started to see it a little bit, and then unfortunate injury kind of derailed that. I'm going to go with Malik Washington as a tier 1 here for the wide receiver stashes. Look, there's opportunity completely up in the air all over Miami. They went and spent a lot of capital on wide receivers, and I like the model that they're going after there. Just kind of taking the middle rounds and splashing taking a bunch of spray shots there of seeing if somebody can come out of it. Malik Washington has had some spots here and there where you were like, ooh, that's good. And as far as the special teams player, very elusive. So Malik Washington could come in here right away and be the guy who leads this offense for at least a couple of weeks, if not maybe the surprise of the season. Malik Washington. Now, we know this isn't a sexy offense. It's not a fun offense. People are expecting a lot of low output from this offense, but Malik Washington has been around now for a little while, going back to his Virginia days. He broke Herman Moore's receiving record, I believe, over there. He's just a very, very good receiver. You get him running out of the slot, intermediate stuff, give him the ball to the line of scrimmage, let him do his thing. Malik Washington, tier 1 wide receiver mustache for me.
Yeah, I like that a lot because you're going to have Chris Bell, who's likely going to be out to start the season. We love Caleb Douglas as a sleeper, but my God, the hurdle to go over, and we'll go over some Greg Dulcich a little bit later. The theme in Miami is there's plenty of opportunity. So long as you have a roster spot and you're filling in the WR1 through all, and same thing for tight end, you have an opportunity to do some damage and just get free reign in what could be some dumpster fire games, but allow plenty of opportunity.
Absolutely. Absolutely. All right. Give me another guy in your tier 1 for your wide receiver mustaches here.
Hey, we love and can't quit Adonai Mitchell. We saw that highlight again, and Chev was just like, man, I'm so back in. And not that he would ever want to be out, but we're getting buzz that Adonai Mitchell is a wide receiver 2 in mini camps for performance, maybe a little bit quicker on things over Omar Cooper, who is a rookie. And I've always loved him, even when he hurt me. I had like a $500 ticket that I would have hit had he crossed the goal line. I was right about the play. I had the whole thing right, the whole storyline. But then AD Mitchell, hey, it happened. But that's a maturity. That's not necessarily skill. We can put the maturity together. The skill is already there. You can't teach the skill that he has. So the Jets throwing in Mitchell in that trade to grease the deal. Look, we beat the Jets up plenty. That was such a savvy move. So go out and get him. He's cheaper. People think he's just a best ball spike week player, which he may be. But at the same time, from what you're getting for stashing price-wise, the opportunity cost for you is tremendous.
Absolutely. Absolutely. AD Mitchell's been somebody who we've seen little flashes, and that's what we're doing here. That's what we want. We just need a little look behind the curtain. If he could just kind of smooth it all out, I think he could be a big hit there. All right. Obviously, I use the Miami Dolphins, Malik Washington as my first tier 1. I'm kind of going in a similar vein here. I'm going to say blanket Raiders wide receivers. Just we have no idea who is it going to be in this rotation of wide receivers. It's got to be somebody. We know it's going to be Brock Bowers, but there has to be somebody else in this offense that gets it done. Now we've liked Naylor quite a bit, right? They seem to like Naylor quite a bit. So he would obviously be one in this pecking order, but then whether it's Bech or Tucker or even Thornton, like these are guys, if I can get 2 of them for real cheap in some drafts and just kind of stash them away, I just want to, just like the Miami Dolphins did, I just want to spray some shots and see if I can just hit on one of these. You know, I like Bech last year. He does seem like somebody who would fit into this Kubiak kind of role in a system. But I mean, Tucker could be. We saw what Kubiak was doing with Shaheed in New Orleans early on in his play calling career down there in New Orleans 2 years ago or whatever, and then he brought him into Seattle last year. Right, Tucker could be that kind of player for them. So Bech, Naylor, Tucker, Thornton. I mean, Naylor's going to be at the top of that list, but again, I'm spraying shots here because there's so much unknown with the Raiders receivers. Grab 1 or 2 or 3 and just tuck them away and see if just you can just get a lottery ticket out of one of them, whether it's a spike up and a sell, even if it's a third, that's a win for a lot of those guys. Like Naylor, I don't know if, maybe you want to end up setting up, but I think Naylor has a chance to be the guy in this. All the pictures that you can paint would make the most sense for Naylor in this situation for the most part. But any of them are fine with me. I don't care. Pick your favorites and grab 2 of them and stash them away.
Well, it's kind of like you're trying to surround the player. And with, let's say, Jonathan Taylor and the Colts for the running back position, you go and get DJ Giddens, Seth McGowan. You don't know left from right who's going to be the guy. We think it could be Seth McGowan behind Jonathan Taylor, but you get both, and then you surround yourself for the event of a Taylor injury. And then the 2 of them go in there and you have whoever is going to be the running back, right? Well, this with the Raiders parallel in a certain way, you don't have a Jonathan Taylor. You don't have a wide receiver 1.
Right.
But you're just, hey, I'm coming away with something. To your point, Casey, you get 2 of the Raiders receivers, 3 of them. You have you're just a numbers game, a high opportunity to get the wide receiver 1 on the Raiders for super cheap. It's not a top tier offense, But again, it's a cheap way to put, hey, I need to plug in my wide receiver spot.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's, I've been playing that kind of over multiple years now of just like, the Giants and the Panther, like we're just teams are kind of in this weird transitioner period where you don't really know who the guy, and we've caught lightning in a bottle a few times. So I that's kind of an approach that I take a lot of the times when we don't really know. All right. Give me another one in tier 1 here for you.
Hey, let's go with Kyle Williams, Terry McLaurin 2.0. Give him some time. This is a wide receiver who there's going to be somebody who emerges with A.J. Brown. Right now, Romeo Doubs is in the driver's seat. Kyle Williams, round 3 draft capital. Deep in drafts, you can get him. When the names start looking less than spectacular, he's a name that you can tell a narrative for, tied to Drake May. So another part of this is these players who they're tied to. It's, hey, Drake May, path of viability to be on the same field. That's an opportunity. So you want to take advantage there. Kyle Williams, don't quit him yet.
Yeah, and I mean, I could kind of say a similar thing for Boutte as well. Like, I mean, I don't know who's going to be the guy there or what it's going to be. It's going to be AJ Brown, for sure, and then Romeo Doubs is probably going to be the two. So those two kind of are the odd man out. I like the idea of Kyle Williams' role in that situation there, but Boutte's been a good deep threat too. And I know your last one here on I don't have any more in tier 1. You've got Jalen McMillan, who, if you've been following the show for any amount of time, that's been my boy. So I love that he's on the tier 1. He might be kind of maybe just too high for this list, but I think he's a forgotten man in a lot of circles.
Well, let's just be sharp on him and make sure the audience is sharp on him as well. There's reports that he's outperformed Emeka Egbuka in mini camps, having chemistry with Baker Mayfield. I'm not so sure how much he's outperforming, how eye of the beholder that is.
Right.
But it's still good to hear. And remember, no stranger to competition in college with Jalen Polk and Rome Odunze. And he showed late season, talk about, hey, can you print a week? Can you show a week? Wide receiver 10 performance overall against the Dolphins late in the season last year, 18.4 fantasy points. There's versatility at the X spot. Godwin is supposed to take the slot. So then you're talking about reps on the outside to rotate at the X receiver position. Can he be ahead of Tez Johnson? Can he be ahead of rookie Ted Hurst? I think is absolutely viable, especially when you consider who he's competed with in the past. Jalen McMillan, don't be surprised if he's in 2 and 3 wide receiver sets and you're looking around like, hey, somebody attached to Baker Mayfield. So absolutely, yeah, he is higher on this list, but shout him out.
Shout him out. All right, let's jump into tier 2. I've got, again, I know I've been taking this approach throughout the whole thing, but I'm going with a pair of Titans here. I'm going Elic Ayomanor and I'm going Chim Dike here, of just kind of the same thing. We saw both of them last year. Chim Dike, if you were in any sort of return points league, like, was a viable option for chunks of the season. And unfortunately, both of them, kind of get put into situations where, hey, Tate comes in and now Wandell comes in, right? Both get some money. I think both of those guys fit really well into what they're going to do. And so and Calvin Ridley is still there. People forget that. So those guys are going to probably push to the side, and we're seeing it in their value. But this is when you strike, man. You strike when there's 2 players that have been solid when given opportunities, right? Ayomanor can get out there and be somebody who eventually maybe plays the other side of the field to Tate, right? Maybe that's as early as this year, and then you have Chim Dike, who, I think I would like a little bit more in the slot, doing some slot things. And obviously, I think, we're going to see Wandell kind of be that for them and probably be a volume machine, but gonna still get opportunity, I'm sure, to play some special teams for him, make a little bit of a name for himself. So Chim Dike, Elic Ayomanor, set it and forget it, stash them away. These are the kind of players that these are high value little bits and pieces that you put away, and you just, hey, this is for a rainy day. A little bit later, it's going to take a little bit of patience. And then, hey, in week 3, Calvin Ridley could be out of there and traded, and Wandell could be out with an ankle, right? And all of a sudden, these 2 guys are back on the field, and they're like, damn, maybe these should have been our guys. So anything can happen really quickly in the NFL. Ayomanor and Chim Dike are 2 guys that are absolutely mustaches for me.
Great point. to your point, NFL, it's so important, key to have depth. And then if you have a deeper roster in Dynasty, why not? Versus any kind of ambiguous name, go after these players. And people like to think of the Titans as just being so narrow and it's just going to be Carnell Tate. You don't really want anybody else. Helm is a sleeper, and Wandale could get some underneath, and it's inconsistent, right? We don't like to expand necessarily. This could be a Cowboys-like offense. This could be a Buccaneers-like offense where, hey, Jalen McMillan gets opportunity, he's going to eat. We don't say that same narrative for DK or Ayomanor yet, but there's opportunity if Cam Ward ends up ascending like we think he will, a la somebody like Tyler Shuck, where we're kind of pushing them both up. There's going to be some more players who are viable. So not limiting that thought of, well, it can only be Carnell Tate and nobody else.
Right.
I think we can push that narrative.
Absolutely. All right. Give me your number one in tier 2 here.
Hey, let's go Ryan Flournoy. Just an opportunity.
Like
this is like a way lesser version of Jalen McMillan, but he has shown us. He printed 26.5 fantasy points versus the Lions in week 5 last year. 13 targets, 9 receptions, 115 yards, and a touchdown. 4.44 speed, 93rd percentile burst score. So he's on the rookie contract for 3 more years. George Pickens, what's out there? It's that franchise tag. And again, not much competition being brought in. And there's some comfort there with Ryan Flournoy. You know his number can get called. And in the event that it does get called, he can produce. Has he done it week over week? No. But we've seen that he can do it. And that's all we need at this price point.
Yeah, gotten a little bit of love in the offseason. So Flournoy is a good one right there. I'm going to go with Royals for my number 2 in tier 2. Somebody who I really, really liked coming out of college. Obviously didn't get very much reps, had some injury through his rookie season as well. Chiefs have been historically slow on the rookie plays. But in season 2 coming in here, I think we have a possibility of seeing more Jalen Royals. Maybe my assessment of this player was way, way off, but seeing him go to the Chiefs really had me fired up. I thought we would see a little bit more of him last year. We didn't see any of it. So like, I don't really have anything to throw any great stats at you or rationale or reasons why, but like the player evaluation didn't really change all that much for me. He's in a good spot where we could get really excited about him really quick, given an opportunity, 2 or 3 plays or 2 or 3 games of him seeing some target share. And you could light that ticket on fire. It's going to go through the roof. So I think Royals with, Worthy having some injuries last year, Rice having all the things he has. And yeah, they added a bunch of random stuff throughout. They brought back Thornton, who I think is a good deep threat option for them. But some of those other guys that had kind of been in the locker room for a little while have departed. So I think Jalen Royals has a potential path to get on the field, and then let's see what he does with it. So I'm going Jalen Royals as tier 2 wide receiver mustache.
Hey, good call. Anybody tied to Patrick Mahomes, you got that opportunity. We saw what Tyquan Thornton did last year. So if there's good things in training camp and in practice during the weeks, Jalen Royals could absolutely carve himself out. And to your point, Xavier Worthy gets bumped up. The depth is not there. And that's what makes the infrastructure of this play so sneakily viable.
Right. All right. Give me your second player in tier 2 of wide receiver stashes.
I got Pat Bryant, round 3 draft capital. People forget about that. Sean Payton, because he got so much Marvin Mims, Troy Franklin, just too many players. Surely nobody else is out there who's going to really sift through, right? Sean Payton has compared Bryant to Michael Thomas. That really got a lot of hype last year.
Sure.
During workouts this season, Payton noted, you wouldn't feel like he was a second-year player if you didn't know it. And then there was a neck injury in week 15. So that slowed the motion down. And then, of course, the Jalen Waddle splash trade makes people forget about Pat Bryant. I've been clicking Pat Bryant fun where he is in best ball drafts. And again, deeper into where you're not getting picky, you're just scrolling in your dynasty startups. Hey, you know what, Pat, there's that little bit of note. I got a couple of things here. Let's press him. And it's a Denver Broncos offense. And that's a tiebreaker for you when you're in that range. So Pat Bryant for me.
Yeah, and obviously Troy Franklin and Mims, they're all kind of cannibalizing each other right now because of the Waddle coming in and saying, how's this pecking order going to work? So either you could probably get two of those three kind of in the rationale that I've been using throughout the wide receivers, but I agree. Pat Bryant will be at the top of that list for me. We've seen it with Troy Franklin a little bit here and there. Maybe it was a bit more of a Fugazi, but I'll take Pat Bryant as well. My last one on this is going to be Jalen Royals, right? Again, this goes back to somebody who we really liked coming out of college. Didn't get a whole lot of opportunity last year. I don't know where it's going to come from this year, but all the things that we liked about him still stand, right? So this is a pretty easy, cut and dry, simple one. I can't give you a whole lot of stats and metrics on it, but he's somebody who is just free and forgotten right now, and I think is a really, really good player. Played alongside of his counterpart already in Jaden Higgins, right? So they got a lot of Iowa State going on over there. Hutchinson has been somebody who's kind of hurt the rotation over there as far as getting the guys you want to see on the field out there consistently. Like he'll take up some reps and some spots, and they seem to really like him. Another Iowa State guy. But Noel's somebody who I think a lot of people were really excited about. And so when the court of public opinion was that excited about him last year, if we could just open that door a crack and see him jump out of it for a second, the value is just going to go up because those same people are still going to like him. They're going to be, oh yeah, I remember that guy. There's a lot of name familiarity, a lot of, like I said, the court of public opinion is very strong and they like Noel. So why not stash him, see if you can get something to happen and see if we can get this Texans offense kind of back on track to where we thought it was in CJ Stroud's rookie year.
Hey, you love to see it. And Tank Dell, if you monitor his health status and he doesn't bounce back, then we're getting a year 2 growth between Higgins and Noel. And who's the fancier, more expensive player in startups? It's absolutely Jaden Higgins for a good reason. But then add to your point, Noel is there. So we could be singing some great praises for him and for you as that stash in Noel.
Absolutely. Give me your last one for these tier 2 wide receivers.
It's just going to be easy, simple, nice with Cedric Tillman. Wide receiver, 10, 3, and 12 performances. Who can forget all those week 7 through 9 leagues that we're in where we won with Cedric Tillman?
Mm-hmm.
And you just have to ask yourself this question. Is Tillman an inconsistent player? Or are the Browns as a structure set as a professional football team poorly managed at quarterback and from a franchise player development level,
right,
which is more likely? Now, I do believe that the Browns are on the upswing. Things are changing, and they will get better at the quarterback position. I think some things mechanically are happening better for how they are developing players. But along the way, for Cedric Tillman's experience, it could be different than, say, what Casey Concepcion, Harold Fannin, and Denzel Boston's and Dylan Sampson and Quinshon Judkins, all these players that we talk about, could be different. We'll see what happens with Shedeur Sanders. That's an elephant in the room.
Absolutely.
But it could still apply to where both could be true, where things haven't been right for Cedric Tillman. And if he can get an opportunity outside of Cleveland, that would be tremendous. So just somebody that you should stash away.
Contract year 2, baby. He could be out of there and then somewhere else, and all of a sudden he signs somewhere and is their number 2 or number 3 kind of coming into the season again. Like there's been some injuries and the machine of the Browns will chew you up and spit you out. I love the Seti T call. All right, jumping into tier 3 here. I'm just going to list them out real quick. Unsexy, unfun names, and we'll just kind of give a brief overview of them. We've got Jade Walker on here, and we've got Xavier Thomas, both Bears, right? We saw Walker have a little bit of run last year. Xavier Thomas has been getting a little bit of buzz. These are free guys to kind of stash away. Deion Burks, somebody who I really, really liked coming out, got some late round capital, but there's some opportunity around in Indianapolis. Cyrus Allen is on the Chiefs, right? 5th round pick, 6th round pick over there. So again, just kind of the same thing I was talking about with Royals, but we don't know what's going to happen with Rashee Rice, whether it's this year or next. He may not even be there. There could be a door swinging wide open. Now, obviously, they would probably fill that void. But again, anything can happen. So Cyrus Allen, and then Theo Wise, I'm not, however you want to say it, junior on Miami, had a little bit of run near the end of the last season. These are, again, super cheap, free guys. And again, that Miami wide receiver core just wide open right now. And we'll kind of see what happens. Any questions, comments, concerns on tier 3 there, Jeremiah?
No, it's really just look at, hey, if it's Deion Burks, Alec Pierce could be gone early in the season, would be the perfect player to go off for 300 and a touchdown in the first couple of weeks. And then all of a sudden in redraft, people are overspending fab, blowing it after week 1. And then you have an opportunity for just like, hey, this player's electric in Dynasty, just throw in, maybe you're swapping for a fourth if you can in another class. You know, you're not doing anything crazy, but a good stash out there.
Absolutely. So again, some free guys, interesting players. Let's move on to the tight ends and quarterbacks, and we'll wrap this one up. Let's jump into the quarterbacks, Jeremiah. I guess we could tier this one up, but these are a lot more cut and dry. We could call it tier 1. Give me your tier 1 tight ends here. And I think I'm right on board with all these.
Yeah, it's going to be Jake Ferguson, Greg Dulcich, and Michael Mayer. Michael Mayer is a free agent in 2027, so he'd easily be a starter on half the teams in the NFL. I love getting Brock Bowers and Mayer because you have that blackjack split. Shout out to Theo Greminger, who has coined that phrase. And you get an outcome of having 2 tight ends viable. Elijah Higgins, we love Casey. 4th in target separation at 2.32. Probably the snap share metric on that isn't too high either. But we love Jake Ferguson for the PPR target magnet that he is. And Greg Dulcich, another free starting tight end who's just there. So, hey, you need somebody who's just going to print points and will get guaranteed snap share. Sign me up. What do you think?
No, absolutely. The Michael Mayer thing, when he got opportunity last year, he was really, really good with it. I didn't even realize that until Big Co. And I think Chev brought it up to me of like, man, he was good when he got some opportunity last year. He's going to be a free agent. Now, I could see the Raiders being somebody who have a lot of interest in bringing him back because of the way Kubiak might want to operate. We did that whole, I talked all about the Raiders guys. Maybe the wide receiver too is Mayer. This is somebody who we've long since forgotten about, but I think should be at the top of any sort of stash away for the tight ends for sure. Ferguson, like you said, high draft capital in him. They just brought in another high draft capital in Claire, but we know about the 13 personnel and all that kind of stuff. So he's definitely interesting. And Dulcich is shout out to Chev not being on the show because that for sure would have been his guy. But there should be a lot of opportunity there of just like, hey, again, just like I've been talking about all the Miami and the opportunities being all over the place. Dulcich should have and finish the season really strong last year there after the Waller injury, right? Now we know it's a different offense and yada, 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 but Dulcich and Mayer got to be one of the top 2 stashes for just kind of no-name tight ends that nobody cares about. I'm going to throw my boy Arroyo in the ring, who was a rookie last year. I'm throwing a lot of second-year rookies out there, but kind of was getting a ton of love. Kubiak obviously not there anymore, but potentially even like getting some X receiver run. Now, obviously, we didn't see that, and we've seen since then AJ Barner kind of emerge a little bit. I don't know how real AJ Barner is or not. If he is real, then I don't know how much the Arroyo thing will ever take flight. At least this go round, but injuries happen. But I just hyper athletic guy, and there's just not a lot of competition throughout that team. Right? It's JSN. They just brought back Shaheed. We like Horton, right? But, and then it's AJ Barner. So just the ecosystem's not very large there. Pat Freiermuth, another one, long since forgotten. But I think if we just get some volume back his way, he could be a finally operational tight end over there. And then you mentioned Elijah Higgins. We've been loving on him for a long time as a deep stash. He's in a contract year. Just kind of built like a wide receiver out there, moves incredibly well. You shouted out a great stat there about his separation. And then Mitchell Evans for the Carolina Panthers, right? We don't know who the hell the tight end is over there. I've been a big JT Sanders component, but I don't know if that's going to work out. Mitchell Evans is somebody who's had a little bit of hype, a little bit of love, and it'd be interesting. I feel like that's kind of got to be a wide open race there. If whoever can grab a hold of it could have some low key value.
In case I didn't mention, along this, Elijah Higgins is properly on the Cardinals right now. He's behind Trey McBride. So I don't know if we mentioned that in case people are like, well, where the fuck is that player? Like, what
who even is
on?
that? Yeah. But Elijah Higgins, if he's available, just grab him and stash him away. We're seeing where tight ends are going in this league, and he's a hidden gem back behind Trey Benson, Trey McBride right now. So I've got him everywhere I possibly could have him, and he's never even in consideration. I'm like, nope, I'm keeping him. So I love the Elijah Higgins. And real quick, a couple of rookie tight ends that are pretty free right now, but Bo Richter on the Jaguars, Hebner on the Ravens, and Marlon Klein on the Texans. I don't know where Strange is going to be next year, if he's going to be re-upped and back on with Jacksonville. I think he's only got one more year, but they got some high capital in here and Bo Richter, right? And they've got some very kind words from Cohen. Hebner, we don't know what's going on with the plight of Mark Andrews. Likely's out of town, right? So he's somebody who's certainly interesting. And then, Schultz has been just the most fine tight end throughout fantasy history. Just fine. If you need him, you can usually get some starts out of him. But Marlon Klein's somebody who's free and fairly interesting. So any thoughts on those before we turn last to the QBs there?
Hey, just filter through, keep scrolling, and along your way, look up these players. And if you go through all those tight ends and they're taken, this seat's taken, this tight end's taken, Elijah Higgins is gone. Well, go to those names that Casey was mentioning.
Absolutely. All right, let's go down to the quarterbacks and finish this one off here with some mustache quarterbacks for your pleasure. Lead us off here, Jeremiah.
I'll give you two in tandem that are a little bit closer in sync, more succinct too. Jalen Milroe is pure rushing upside for the Seahawks. The fragility of JSN would be Milroe taking over. Hold your breath every time Sam Darnold gets hit hard. You may not have Darnold on your squad, but you want him to do well for JSN's sake. But Milroe would just be the tuck and run, just like piss off all your league mates, Konami code upside player. Like, it's awesome. But he's a nothing burger until anything were to happen. And Tyson Bagent has rushing upside, nowhere near Jalen Milroe, but he had 70 yards on 8 attempts we've seen printed against the Saints in 2023, relieving Justin Fields. And then you would have some input ability to run the Chicago Bears offense where Caleb Williams usually operates. So this reminds me a little bit of like a Mike Washington behind Ashton Chanty. We won't realize any upside unless there's the absence of the primary player. So right. Tyson Bagent, fun player to have.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing that keeps him down is his dad. He seems like he kind of stinks. Anyway, look, this quarterback area and position, it's last. This is a long show of stashes, right? But there is money to be made here, man. And we've talked about it on streams. We've talked about it on shows year after year after year. And we've seen it time after time after time of these guys just being reclamation projects, or they get an opportunity a little later in their career. Two or three guys that come to mind. We saw Mac Jones as kind of, if we're saying tier one, right? Mac Jones, you mentioned Shedeur Sanders. We don't know where that combination is going to play out of Watson and Shedeur, but I mean, there's money to be made there, right? And Mac Jones still, after what he did last year, still somebody who 14th, 15th, 16th round, you can still pick him up, right? And he's going to get paid by somebody and have a massive value resurgence. So you just got to be a year ahead and be able to bite the bullet or if you have Purdy, like you said, what'd you call it? The split on blackjack? Yep. Is that what is that? Yep. Yeah. I mean, same thing, right? And Shedeur could be this, like, you could get two cheap quarterbacks and see what happens there with him and Watson, right? So that's really interesting. And then you have the guys like A-Rich and Justin Fields, who Richardson came in really young and really early and probably got too much attention for being uber athletic and, has had lots of ups and downs throughout his career. But boy, oh boy, if he can get clipboard in school and get the right mentality, we've seen, like, regardless of what you think of him as a quarterback, and Justin Fields kind of the same way, like, if they get starts, they score you fantasy points, most likely, whether it's pretty or not. Like, one way or another. And, I think the ship has sailed, at least for Justin Fields. We've had the trials and tribulations. He's in Kansas City right now, which, you never know. And maybe that helps him kind of turn the page and turn the corner. But Anthony Richardson is somebody who absolutely could be, I know you're probably tired of hearing about the guy and you hate him and move on and he stinks, but that's exactly what you want. People said the same thing about Mac Jones and Sam Darnold and, Geno Smith and, plenty of other quarterbacks out there that we've seen, Baker Mayfield, right? That we've seen these guys kind of come back. And then on the lower end of things, we all love Will Howard a lot. He's a quintessential mustache player for me. Davis Mills is on a contract year. We've seen him come in and play pretty well behind CJ Stroud when he was out. And then, Quinn Ewers, man, came in at the end of last season, played pretty well, had a lot of pedigree in college, kind of got banged up a little bit. But I thought we saw some okay ball from Quinn Ewers at the end of the season where the Dolphins were stinking it up and really reeling. Was it, A+ or anything? No, but I mean, that's kind of what you want. Grab Ewers, stash him away. Rattler has been played and benched. He could certainly go somewhere else. Again, high pedigree with him. He goes somewhere and maybe spends another year with Kellen Moore and then goes on somewhere else. And look, maybe he reemerges, but like these are all guys that could potentially give you value if you have to spot start them, but they go somewhere else. They get a little clipboard school, like we say, and all of a sudden you're going, whoa, this just was a great lottery ticket to bail me out of, maybe a bad spot I put myself in or upgrade a big trade.
Wipe me down. Yo, you nailed that. You nailed that, Casey.
So we'll wrap up on that. Anything else you want to talk about for these quarterbacks before we get out of here?
No, you did it perfectly. Go get these stashes, turn over, search your waiver wires, and then in these deep trades, throw these players in. And of course, best time to do all this is in a startup. So if you're going through startups, eye these players. Once you get past round 10 and it gets dusty, well, it's dusty no more because some of these names can look a little more bold for you.
Absolutely. All right. Goodbye, pod, with old Casey and Jeremiah here. FFD signing out. We appreciate you. Make sure you like, subscribe. If you haven't 5-star review, go ahead and do so, please. And thank you. Go visit theFFDynasty.com, and we'll see you next week. Peace.